Welcome back to the Online Fundraising Bootcamp. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about why online fundraising. We're going to basically give you some information to convince yourself that you should be doing online fundraising or to help convince folks in your organization that you should be doing online fundraising. So to start off, of course, we know everyone knows that they should be doing online fundraising and there's no issues around that whatsoever. Well, I really wish that was the case. I still run into quite a few people that feel that online fundraising is a waste of time, online fundraising is not effective, it hasn't worked for their organization, so they don't want to do it, etc. The purpose of this lesson is to give you the information you need to prove your case within your organization or with your colleagues about why you really need to get motivated on online fundraising and start working on it now so that you're ready for the increases that are just around the corner. So to start off, we'll give some general online giving stats, and that is 75% plus of donations are still coming from individuals. They're not coming from large corporations, they're not coming from grant funding and all of those things. They're still coming from individuals, and these are smaller donations from individuals, just regular old folks. It's not Bill Gates giving $2 million to an organization. It's Joe and Mary and everyone that donates $150 at the end of the year. That is still the vast majority of the dollars that people are bringing in. Both online and offline, actually. Online fundraising is growing at a rate of 50% every year, year over year, 50%. That is huge growth. And if you look at the chart over here on the right from the Network for Good study, the onlinegivingstudy.org, you can see how that growth is looking. And if you keep growing at that rate, 50% year over year, you can really see that it starts to jump and starts to grow up dramatically. So that's been clear, and we expect that trend to keep going and maybe even increasing more. Also, online giving is the fastest growing channel right now, especially for small organizations. So that means it's growing faster than direct mail, it's growing faster than event fundraising, it's growing faster than any other way that folks are raising money, that nonprofits are raising money. So we definitely want to jump on that. Over 40% of donors are visiting an organization's website before giving, and over 65% of current donors are visiting your website. So that again just shows the importance of your website and how you really need to be thinking that through. So it's not just the online fundraising, but how you interact with people online as well. So we're also going to highlight a couple specific studies here that I really like. And this one is the Cygnus donor survey that came out just this year in 2011. And they surveyed folks that had given in 2010 or were planning on giving in 2010, and they surveyed them on their future behavior. So what's interesting is 65% of people said they were going to make an online gift this year in 2007. And when you break that out by age group, as you would expect, young donors, 86% of them are going to give online. That's really not a big surprise. The 35 to 64-year-olds, about 68%. The one that is a little surprising to some folks is the over 65 crowd. 53% of them are planning on giving an online donation in 2011. Now that is huge because a lot of people will make the argument that the older generation doesn't want to give online. They don't feel comfortable giving online. Well, over half of them are comfortable giving online right now, and I believe that number is going to keep going up as they get more comfortable with the internet, they get more comfortable going online, they get their Facebook pages going and all that stuff. That's going to keep going up and up. So that's no longer a valid argument. Another interesting stat from this one was that direct mail donors, 29% of them went online to make their gift. What that means is somebody got a direct mail piece asking for a donation, and they had a little card that they could send their donation in. They could mail it in if they wanted to, but instead almost 30% of them decided to go online and make that donation. So even though you're incurring the expense of that direct mail piece, people are going online to make that donation. So you really want to be working on your online fundraising plan, because people are going online to do that, and they're actually starting to prefer to do that. In the direct mail area, again, 26% who gave via mail said they were going to give less this way in 2011. So another almost quarter percent, or 25%, don't want to give through the mail anymore. They want to go online and give, or find other ways to give, and online is obviously the easiest way to do that. Also, 69% of folks preferred electronic over print communication. So that's another really important stat, in that all that money you're spending on direct mail pieces or a paper newsletter that you're mailing out, people are now saying they really would prefer that electronic communication instead of print. And I know for me, I really prefer electronic communication. I don't want the nonprofits I support to have to spend all that money to mail me things and have to stuff the envelope and pay postage and printing and all that stuff. I would rather have them save that money and use that for services. And so send me an email, send me the electronic mail. And more people are starting to come to that realization as well. We've also included a link on this slide and also down below in the resources section, so you can go download the executive summary of this report. And there's a lot more data in there about the online behaviors. So it's a really good study to go look at and use within your organization. The next study we want to talk a little bit about is the Millennial Donor Survey. This is a really good survey for two reasons. One, it surveys the 20 to 35-year-old group, which is, a really up-and-coming group. They're very active. They're a very civic group. They like to volunteer a lot, and they do like to donate. So it's good in that respect that we're really focusing on one specific group. The other reason I like it is because this study asked a lot of really good questions about online fundraising, especially in terms of peer-to-peer fundraising, and why people would give more, and how you can get them to give more. So that's the reason that we include it. So a couple really interesting stats about the millennial donors is 93% of the folks in this survey had given to nonprofits in 2010. That is a huge percentage, and a very large percentage of these folks also volunteer at the nonprofits that they believe in. So this is a very active, very civic-minded generation. So you really want to be catering to some of these folks, because these are the folks that are going to turn into your major donors and your larger donors over time if you can cultivate them correctly. A lot of people also think millennial donors, the younger generation, doesn't give a lot of money. Over 21% of them gave $1,000 or more. And so these are people just starting out in their careers, and they're already donating $1,000 to charity. You can only see that going up as they progress in their careers and have more disposable income. So we really want to be targeting them now. And while 58% of gifts were under $150, so that's those smaller donations, what's really interesting is 63% of folks in the survey gave to 3 or more organizations. And so this is a little different than some of the older generations. Some of the older generations would pick 1 or 2 charities, and they would support them throughout their lives, and really not look for other folks to or the other organizations to support. The millennial donors really like to give based on need, and so they'll give a lot if there's Hurricane Katrina, or if there's the tsunami, or the Haiti issue. They go and donate to that. So they donate where they see need, and so we're going to talk about this when we get into some of the other strategies and the fundraising campaigns. Is that you really need to make a compelling case and an urgent, sort of pressing need now in order to get these millennial donors to give. So it's really a good thing to keep in mind as you're working with your fundraising campaigns. 58% prefer to give online. No big surprise there. It's a little lower than the other study, but there's always going to be small differences with how the questions were asked and all that stuff. But still, the majority want to give online. 71% get information about nonprofits through web searches. So if you don't think that you need to be concerned with search engine optimization and how you rank in Google, that stat right there should make you a little nervous, and really make you want to focus on your website and think about how you're positioning it there. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the strategies section. And 62% want to receive information via email instead of in the postal mail. So again, we're seeing that trend continue where people really want that electronic communication over the mail communication. The other thing I want to do is compare online fundraising to some other industries as a way of trying to predict how online fundraising is going to go. And so one of the first areas I like to compare it to is airline tickets. I can tell you, I can't remember the last time that I did not buy an airline ticket online. I can't remember the last time I walked into a travel agent office. I couldn't even tell you where a travel agent office is to go buy a ticket. And I think that's the vast majority of folks now are buying their tickets online. When that first started coming out, travel agents said that's not going to work. People can't figure this out. It's too complicated trying to get all the right times. Well, eventually it's become a very easy and standard process. And we would expect to see that continue in other industries, including online fundraising. The other one that's really interesting is online digital music. When this came out, like the iTunes store, people said this is going to fail so miserably. There's no way that people want to download their music. It's not real. They want to have a CD. They want to have something physical that they can hold. Well, that has really just taken off. And we can see how that taken off using what's called the hockey stick. And I've done a little graph over here on the right. What people call a hockey stick graph is any graph that begins kind of low and takes a little while to get going, but once it gets going, it really ramps up really fast. Now, we saw that on the previous slide where we were looking at the 50% growth year over year. We saw that that really started to look like a hockey stick and ramp up. Well, that's exactly what happened with online digital music at the iTunes store. It took them 1,033 days to sell their first billion songs. When they got to their 5 billionth song to 6th billionth song, it only took them 202 days. And that number keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I think it might now be down under 100. It's maybe 50, 60 days to sell a billion songs. So they're really seeing that hockey stick phenomenon, and we're definitely going to see that in online fundraising as well. So we really want to get our online fundraising together and get out in front of this wave so we're not left behind. So in conclusion, you need to start now. If you want to get in front of that wave, if you want to get on the beginning of that hockey stick and not lose out on it, you need to start your online fundraising campaigns now. And that's the whole point of this boot camp, is to get you up and raising money and starting to experiment with some new strategies so you can really capitalize on this phenomenon. And you really need to build relationships with those younger donors. So we're going to use that millennial donor study to build some of our campaigns, so we make sure that we're touching on them as well, because those are the ones that are going to keep coming online and want to do everything online, and we want to turn those into our major donors in the future. And last is use the information and stats within this presentation, and using the links below, you can download the executive summaries of those reports that we mentioned, and use them within your organization to educate and advocate and really show the need to jump on online fundraising and really get going with it. And finally, take action. Look below and grab those resources and take action on the action steps. And after you do that, we'll see you in the next lesson.